don't know if people are feeling the writer's strike yet. Already my content feels like it's a little bit worse, or my options are a little more limited. And I think because this is going to go on for a while, Mike Schur hasn't been around recently. I think someone just mentioned to me that he's so happy about the Heat losing that he has gone on a Meadowlark paid vacation to Paris to celebrate just that this show stops talking Miami Heat basketball. But he is leading the writer's strike. It is a lot of pressure. They don't think it's going to end anytime soon. And when they need more and more content, it won't just be reality shows. It's going to be game shows as well.
May I ask you how you've found a way to catch up to all of content? I don't understand. Like, how have you had time? I haven't gotten around to Homeland yet.
What? There is a lot out there, but I'm telling you on the new stuff, okay, I find myself nightly sort of frustrated that I can't get, just Bill Maher's show, John Oliver's show, any of the late night stuff, and what's coming for us soon in 6 months, because there's a glut. They have some stuff that's already been made. But if this goes on for a long time, you're all going to feel it, where your content options feel more limited than they have in a long time.
I'm finally going to get around to Ray Donovan. This is an exciting time in entertainment. This is the best.
Okay, so it's going to slow down.
I'll watch the premiere of Vinyl on HBO.
Vinyl that lasted
I'm excited
one
about that.
season.
Scorsese, huh?
It was a good show.
That should be good.
It was good.
Ray Romano.
And then it wasn't.
Was it good?
It was good, Dan. Come on.
Show.
Scorsese, I mean, why did it die after 1 year if it was an excellent show?
Politics, you know how it goes.
Exactly.
Sounds like an informed answer.
Politricks, more like it.
When's season 2 of Luck coming out?
The horses were an issue. Yeah, remember that? Yeah, the
Luck.
horses. I'm so happy that we were actually having that discourse, and then the show ended, and then we went 15 more years just killing all the horses.
I couldn't watch the Belmont the same way. I ended up feeling bad for just the whipping of the horses because we've gotten to killing so many of these things. But the point I was getting to when I talked about game shows,
To find out what Veep is like.
and what the future of television is going to look like without writers.
Jonah from Veep, fan of the show.
I get to watch what all the hullabaloo is about Nurse Jackie.
What was the point of that contribution?
He was a stupidity guest. You want him as a celebrity prognosticator?
He was?
Yeah, he's fun.
I finally get to know what Dan was talking about when he was saying Billions is must-see TV. Yeah.
It wasn't.
Who catches up to entertainment? It's impossible.
Compliment, friend of the show.
No, not actually. No, he's been wanting to meet me for years, and I avoid him.
Why?
Because you're too busy watching everything on television. You're too busy watching his shows to actually meet with him.
Because he's sniffing around a lot of sports writer types.
Who's on stupidity?
He's a bit of a whore. But what I was getting to is that Pat Sajak announced, after 41 years, Pat Sajak announced that he is retiring this next upcoming season. We're going to talk to Ken Jennings in the next couple of days. But Pat Sajak is leaving television after a 4-decade run as a game show host. And the thing that I wanted to ask you guys is, what is the best of these? Because Wheel of Fortune has to go in the conversation as not just one of the best game shows of all time, but one of the longest running television shows of all time. The idea that this guy has been a television host for 41 years is just straight up nuts. And we just lost Trebek, and Jeopardy doesn't feel the same. I don't know how well it's doing with Ken Jennings, but I wanted to ask you guys, not just the best of these, if you can only pick one. You're only allowed to pick one for all time, but also going forward, do these have any sort of stickiness for you in the future? Any of the new ones? Any of the
Game shows?
Yes, because I think they're going to start doing more and more of these when they start running out of content, because they're easy to make as television, And I'm wondering what kind of staying power those have in 2023 and beyond. And if Pat Sajak, if we're basically ending the end of an era and the end of a breed.
I don't care about that nearly as much as I find interesting the ecosystem that changes around the entertainment and how that steers us in a different direction. So, like, I had this conversation with Mike Schur a couple weeks ago where we were talking about how the changes in the CBA has caused for different evolutions in the game. So we look back now in football and we think it's a foregone conclusion that a quarterback on a rookie deal is how you win the Super Bowl. No, that happened after the CBA that I was involved in negotiating. You changed the pay scale for rookies, and then look at me, Louie.
Yeah, I mean, reacted that way.
Yeah, I could feel him waving around. It's not necessarily something to be proud of as much as we don't appreciate how the decision is what happened. And you institute max contracts in basketball, and that leads to an era where players empowerment and player movement happens more frequently. And we talk about the history of the game as if it was the game's evolution and not the impact on it. And when that applies to entertainment, you talk about how reality television became a big thing as a response to the last writer's strike. I'm interested to see, now that we're in this more modern era where TikTok is taking over the media landscape, I'm interested to see and predict where we think the entertainment is going in the future. And I don't think it's going to be with 13-year-old kids consuming Wheel of Fortune.
Here's where it's going. Deadwood.
The problem also is that television in some areas became very bloated. When you look at the budgets for the Lord of the Rings show, for Game of Thrones, there's no reason a TV show should cost $1 billion to make. That's just insane.
I disagree.
You thought that was a good ROI?
No, I don't necessarily think that was good. I don't watch Lord of the Rings, so it didn't do it for me. But I don't think the problem is in the high quality stuff as much as the problem is the glut of entertainment that they use.
Aren't you happy that you finally have the time to get around to Lord of the Rings? I get to watch Arliss.
That's what's coming next, by the way, when they don't have writers. Lord of the Wings,
Isn't
some
that
sort
Cote?
of cheap ripoff.
No, that's good.
Cody with the flats, Lord of the Wings.
Do you remember? Wasn't there a show called Wings?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it was
you
a
can
great
finally
show.
get around to it.
Great sitcom.
Is
Yeah.
Lord of the Wings like a mashup?
There's a lot. There's so much content.
Too much.
And I don't
Too
know how
much.
Dan's
Yeah,
managed to
too
watch
much.
all of it, but I am so happy that we have this moment in time where we can all watch our teams in the finals, probably lose both finals, take a minute, and then catch up to True Blood.
I feel like no one's answering your question, which is the best game show of all time, and will any of these game shows stand the test of
One
time?
of the
Family
things
Feud will.
I'm trying. Family Feud has
Yeah.
been the
Don't-
evolution of Family Feud has been
Yes.
kind of amazing because Steve Harvey has made it just as good as the original.
So what he's done and what they've done very cleverly is they've made it into a show that adapts very well to TikTok, Instagram, and social media, right? The problem with Jeopardy is the only moments that go viral
It's for nerds
are
is the problem
no.
with Jeopardy.
Billy nailed it on the head.
Straight. It's for nerds.
No,
Thank
but,
you.
but the problem with that is
I don't know the answers.
Jeopardy,
That's the problem.
Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, the only time they go viral is when someone gets the answer horribly wrong. Like the guy who said 8 chilies instead of Achilles, right? Or the person who thought that Mike Trout was the best fisherman ever, or whatever. Who is Mike Trout?
You really fell apart.
Yeah, I
there
know. I
in
couldn't
whatever
think.
it
It
is
was
you were
a
trying to do.
The
specific
problem
sports
is it's
one.
for
I'm off
nerds
the
and there's
hook.
no slime. That's the problem
So-
with the game show.
You could have stopped on 8 chilies. You didn't have to give a second example.
Hey, Killy.
Family Feud. What Family Feud has going for it is that Steve Harvey is really good at conversation, right? That goes beyond the game. And B, even when the answers are right, we still can have a great laugh at it because the topics are ridiculous. And so it makes it very snackable, Dan. That's a term that the people use when they say you could take this 30-minute show and take like a 2-minute segment or a 30-second segment or a 60-second segment.
That's what's happened to late night television. It's been consumed by we need more, faster, instantaneous, shorter. I don't want to watch it on your schedule. I'm going to watch it on my schedule.
Like, I just missed 6 Feet Under. I didn't see any of it.
The trivia shows don't have writers. Like they're not part of this strike.
The trivia shows? I don't.
Yeah, like Jeopardy is like a trivia. Like someone's writing all of those
I
questions.
don't believe they're members of the union, and that's the big difference.
Can you guys tell me on Wheel of Fortune
I am.
where it is that you're putting it, and on Game Show Hosts for All Time where it is that you're putting Pat Sajak? How high up on the list?
Both in the top 5 for me. Sajak probably number 2 behind Bob Barker.
What?
Yeah.
Alex Trebek would like a word.
My list. I mean,
So
God
you have
rest
him
his soul, he was
popping
a
out
bit
of what?
much.
You have him popping out like the Ecuadorian woman wanting a word. Wanting a word.
who is Alex Trebek?
I've been wanting to watch Tilt since 2005.
Good show.
They call him the Matador.
Put it up on the poll, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Can you keep up with entertainment? I cannot fathom the idea of a television show existing for 41 years. Do you know how much has changed in 41 years? Do you know that what is taking place here 3 blocks from here is something I couldn't have possibly imagined 41 years ago? With Reagan in disguise as an actor, as a president, leading a party into this.
Could I ask a question? Mike brings up a great point about the ridiculous wealth of shows and entertainment out there. Do you guys feel like I do? Like the NBA Finals ended yesterday. Baseball really doesn't take up until September. Like this down period of sports for summertime, oh my God. I can finally breathe. I don't have to feel paranoid. Like, what game am I supposed to be watching right now?
You can finally watch Rescue Me on DVD box.
You found some relief in the NBA Finals being over?
Oh,
Yeah,
every year.
I'm with you.
Every year, Stugotz. Like, I love it. The finals are amazing. It's an exciting time. Most of the time, it's great basketball, not last night. But when it's over, I'm like, thank God I don't have to worry about what's on.
So you're
what's games on.
Jokic.
Everyone-
You're Jokic, basically. Thank God it's over. I'm tired. I hate my work.
Everyone hates their job.
I hate keeping up. I hate that I have to watch.
But he never goes home.
I have to watch sports and entertainment. I hate it.
He doesn't. My favorite part is he doesn't say I hate my job. He says everybody hates their job, right? Like it's like he was like, wait, hold on, are we not all on the same page here?
Were you not startled by that?
Yes, I was. Imagine how good it'd be if he loved his job. It's incredible. But to your point, you need a break. You need a break from sports. You need a break from entertainment. That's the problem with entertainment. There's too much content. There's too much relentless television. My wife is binge watching. She's up on all these shows. I can't keep up. I can't catch up with her. She's watching shows I've never heard of, and she's been binge watching them for 4 months. I can't keep up with all the content now. Too much variety in America.
We are all identifying with Jokic, except our horses are Rizzoli and Isles.
Can you
Franklin and
please,
Bash.
Greg Cote, explain to me?
Did they ever have a crossover?
You want me
It
to
was like
defend
right
horse
there for
racing?
the taking. Rizzoli and Isles meets Franklin and Bash.
Good show, yeah.
Do you know what binge watching is?
It doesn't take 4 months.
It takes 4 months when you binge watch like 19 shows in a row.
It's taking me a year to finish The Patient, and that show is 20 minutes.
Exactly. Zagak.
Also, I've watched all seasons of Blippi, front to back.
Get ready, Greg.
That's what's happening, actually. My daughter is hogging my television.
Bluey.
I wish you would watch Bluey.
Yeah, Bluey's good.
I
a
actually
smart
got her
show.
into Beethoven. Did you know that Charles Grodin was 56 years old in that movie and Bonnie Hunt was 29, and they never addressed the age difference? Grodin looked very good for 56, so they thought he could pass.
Odd aside.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Did Grodin look very good for 56?
Wasn't that the same thing with Jurassic Park? With Jurassic Park, there's a massive age difference.
What do you think, Greg?
I never knew there was an age difference in Jurassic Park. Or
This is the new and unimproved Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
We have a very flimsy wheel of topics right here. Only 2 topics on it. The 2 topics are Jack Grealish or World's Dirtiest Man. Go ahead and spin the wheel, please, and tell me. I mean, I can't see it from here, so tell me where it is that it lands. Let's see here.
You got it, Dan.
Probably flip a coin. I mean,
Thank you. I mean, that's not how the wheel works. You got to respect the wheel. What did it land on there? I mean,
World's dirtiest man.
I love that story. I fell in love with Amu Haji as soon as I read about him. A hermit from Iran who dies at age 94 after having not bathed in 67 years. The India Times wrote an obituary and described him as looking like the biblical Moses fell down a chimney. And he lived his entire life with dirt caked on him. He smoked a pack of cigarettes a day.
My man.
He sustained himself eating the rotten meat of dead animals. He smoked dried animal feces out of a rusty pipe. This guy lived his life. Nobody was going to tell him how to live. I admire that guy. I hope his funeral was well attended, and people probably kept a distance because the way he smelled alive, imagine how he smelled dead. But R.I.P. Amu Haji, the world's dirtiest man.
He died in October.
Yep.
Strange for you to bring it up.
We're celebrating him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
today.
it's the-
Been busy.
it's
Yeah.
November, December, January, February, March.
everybody grieves on their own timeline.
The
Dan.
8-month
Right.
anniversary
You
of
know?
his death.
You think they cleaned him?
Not at all.
No, he actually died after taking his first bath in over a half century. Yeah.
Really? Is that right?
Should have stayed dirty.
Yeah, it would have been a disservice to clean him post-mortem.
How do you
You know.
think his draws looked?
I don't know, but somehow Jokic is dirtier. How does he not get a flagrant for that elbow?
Should have been in foul trouble yesterday.
I was saying in group text how essential it was to get that third foul, and it did come. I think midway through the fourth.
I mean, can I ask you something about what you witnessed this morning at 8:07 a.m., where you were trying to say hello to Stugotz, and he was scurrying away to go smoke heater and telling you, just please come over here so I could blow smoke in your face. And the breakfast heater, how did you
Not exactly how it went down.
It's pretty close to how it went
I was
down.
trying to be respectful of Amin and his air and the air that he breathes. And Amin was kind of asking me why I was walking away from him. And I said, I'm about to light a cigarette. And so I didn't want to blow it in his face. I was trying to do right by Amin Al-Hassan. That's all.
I would confirm Stugotz's account. He was scurrying away. I said, "Where are you going?" And he said, "I've got to go smoke unless you want me to blow smoke on you."
Right.
And then he said, "Come over here. I'll give you a hug." And at that point, I said, "I'd take a rain check." And as I walked in, I said, "Do we do rain checks anymore?"
Put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Do we do rain checks anymore?
I don't even know why we call them rain checks. It's like from baseball, right? Like it rained out
Yeah.
and you.
No, is
check-
that what it's from? A rain check's not a baseball. A rain delay? That's not where rain check comes from, is it?
I thought it came from like it's raining. They got rained out, so you come back the next day and they would
That's a
honor
rain
your
delay.
The
Oh,
etymology
that
is
what
it
is?
originated in baseball in
Yeah.
the 1800s.
Okay, way to go.
Yeah,
I mean,
spectators
I
who
did not know
attended games that were postponed or canceled because of weather would receive a rain check to attend a future game at no extra charge.
That's right.
that. Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Did you know that the origins of rain check went back to the 1800s in baseball? I do want to better understand, though, Stugotz, what is happening, though, with a cigarette habit that you have said various times that you intend to quit. Once you're at the 8:07 a.m. portion of the cigarette, that's not quitting.
Well, I try to get him in the morning and really before noon. I know it's a weird strategy for smoking, but when I get home, kids are there, the wife is around. Really, this is my dirty little secret, Dan, okay, that you keep exposing on the air every single day. I'd rather we not talk about it anymore, but if you must, I am explaining. I try to get at least 20 in before noon.
How many in the car, Stugotz?
None in the car. Never in
Well,
the car.
I think I think what it is that he doesn't
Never
want
in the car.
He doesn't
I
want
have
his,
a rental car right now. It's $450 if I smoke in that thing. I ain't doing it. Okay.
I believe what's at work here is literally at work here. He doesn't want his family to have any evidence that he's doing this. If he does it in the car,
They looked at his fingers.
Yeah, they don't look at my fingers, Mike.
It looks like you just played with pine tar.
I know, but who's really looking at someone else's fingers? And by the way, that's the excuse I go with when they ask. Play
Pine
baseball.
tar, batting practice. I was taking
Little
that.
BP. Yeah, the Uncle Charlie. Yeah.
It's such the Uncle
He throws the
Charlie.
nastiest knuckle curve
The
because of
Uncle
what's on his
Charlie.
fingers.
It's a curveball for some reason.
Little extra zip, Dan. That's what happens to the fingers when you throw a little extra
got
zip
that-
on your Uncle
Snap
Charlie.
that curve.
You've got that Zach Greinke knuckle curve.
Thank you.
To be fair, Stugotz's hats are all super gross, so I would believe it if he's just keep touching your hat, Stugotz.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pine tar.
Just to be clear, your excuse to cover up that you're smoking heaters at work is not that you're using pine tar for batting practice to hit. It's to snap off curveballs because you're throwing batting practice to someone else.
Yeah.
And not rosin, which you're using pine tar.
Yeah.
You're using pine tar to throw Uncle Charlie curveballs.
Bone Thugs.
With a little extra zip. I mean,
Uncle Charlie.
Does your family not know anything about baseball, pine tar? Do they believe your lies that are so flimsy and bad that they have you throwing 50-year-old curveball batting practice to whom, Stugotz? Not even going to a batting cage to swing a bat, which you could do by
no
yourself.
one.
Now
I mean,
you're
I'm just
getting
throwing
together
them.
a team
Yeah.
of people for your breaking balls.
I guarantee you, if we take him to a mound, he's got Cliff Lee's control.
I don't think they use pine tar in any way to throw baseballs.
I mean, I do. I can't speak to other pitchers, but I'm one of the all-time greats, Dan. I could snap a curve with the best of them, with lefty, with Koufax, with anyone. I use pine tar.
Just thanks
Just
to,
between us.
thanks to a couple more barrel lights.
Spin the wheel again, please. Let's see if it lands on World's Dirtiest
Those are
Man
just tar.
or Jack Grealish. Mike, what did it land on there?
Jack Grealish!
Wow.
Oh, man.
I was hoping for World's
odds.
Dirtiest Man. see what else Cote had in the tank from a death 8 months
I'm
ago.
all spent.
So Jack Grealish is a star midfielder, attacking player for Manchester City. Jack Grealish was a legendary partier. He is known for this. In fact, there has long since been a Twitter account dedicated to his drinking prowess. He's finally won the Champions League, a trophy that has escaped Manchester City for several years. He was in his full kit till 5 a.m. the next morning. He is on a legendary bender. There are photos of him having to be wheelchaired out of a hotel in Ibiza because they had to fly to Ibiza for 12 hours in between the parade in Manchester and the game in Istanbul. This guy, who has had naked photos circulate the internet, he is one of, I believe Jamie Tart has been influenced by the character on Ted Lasso, has been influenced by Jack Grealish. If you're watching right now on YouTube or the DraftKings network, he is wearing a traffic vest from a construction worker. He is enjoying a championship almost as much as Paul Pierce, who enjoyed his one championship to this very day. He just hasn't stopped.
He's enjoying a championship the opposite of the way that Jokic is enjoying the championship. He is partying, and please explain to me, because I don't know the politics of Manchester City. This is a celebration that he is enjoying with whom?
About 13 fans, about 13 strong, more people on the double-decker buses. Manchester City doesn't have this huge fan base. Most of Manchester follows Manchester United. And Manchester City got really good once the Sheik took over and they started spending all this money. And they've been good for about 15 years now, but that's the trophy that's been eluding them. And they finally got it. And Jack Grealish is going to party like he's never getting it again.
Again, I will point out.
He IG storied a video of his friend in their hotel room, and his friend was falling asleep on his feet.
That's more understandable, is it not, than what Jokic is doing?
Jokic is the exception to the rule. We've never seen someone celebrate quite the way that Jokic
So
is.
unhappy to win something.
It's not
Really
even,
is.
to call it a celebration is an insult to celebration. It's more of a relief.
They got to win one more or it doesn't count.
Well, Jimmy's probably still saying we're going to come back from 4-1.
Yeah.
I still believe him.
God, for his sake, I hope that ankle is in pieces. That was bad luck, dude. Bad
What do you
luck.
mean you hope that ankle
For
is in
his sake.
pieces?
Dude,
What is
because
that?
like he's
Mental
short-circuited.
mistakes, come on.
He's short-circuited.
He was bad, Dan.
The expectations changed so fast. Like you were rooting for tanking just a couple months ago, and now you're like Jimmy should be ashamed of
They won the
himself.
Eastern Conference. They're not good.
He actually wasn't bad. He was just Jimmy Butler.
There's a bad team won the East. I think that's what needs to be celebrated almost as much as Jokic. Is a bad team beat the two best teams in the league en route, or at least in their conference, en route to an NBA Finals.
So then why aren't you celebrating?
Right.
I should be.
You
You're
aren't.
like
You keep
Jokic.
complaining and
I got
saying
sent to the Trump indictment, and I'm still sweating, by the way.
What a great
What am I
sentence.
doing here?
That's stinking here a little bit.
One of my favorite parts of our show being just totally contaminated by sports, an alleged sports show getting caught up in the last 6 to 8 weeks of 8 seeds, hooray, 8 seeds, teams that aren't good, kind of surprising people, and then inevitably at the end, because 8 seeds never win. But in the middle of that, as we care deeply enough to have our show and our lives ruined by the last 8 weeks, not only is it that Jokic is fundamentally indifferent, right before the game, Spo is asked in general about all of the predictions going against him, and his quote, as it's been many times, is, "I don't give a And also coming out right before the game is Jimmy saying, yeah, if they invite me to the Hall of Fame, I don't care. I don't want to really be a part of all of that. Just a profound indifference around the caring from the people in the center of the caring.
Copycat League. They see Jokic's reaction, and they know what needs to be done to climb that mountaintop.
Yeah.
They cared too much.
They cared so much, and they were totally dismantled by a guy who's excellent but wants to go home to be with his horses. And I would have really enjoyed watching Milwaukee try to dismantle that, because my guess is it would have been a lot more of a series.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier in the show that we've moved on from a Steph, LeBron, Durant league into what is a real changing of the guard. It's an interesting time in the NBA when you look at all these teams, and I know Michael Malone already had comments on what's next is a dynasty.
So we have to respect the Michael thing now that he's a champion. We have
I've
to
always
respect
respected
it.
it.
Only because he's a champion.
Yeah, but Giannis versus Jokic in an NBA Finals would be really compelling just because of you often say, to the point that it's become cliche and overused, the evolution of the sport. That's not the evolution of the sport. That just might be evolution.
Of athleticism.
No, of humans. Human beings.
Humankind.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you've got larger people than ever able to do things that used to be things only done by shorter, quicker people.
Well, and I know Jokic has given plenty of comments on this, and it started with Dirk about like, wow, your game is so fundamentally nice and fine-tuned, and you're a scorer
For someone who's 6'11".
for someone that's
Yeah.
big.
For anyone
because
who's ever played basketball.
Yeah, because here in the United States, when you're that big, they camp you out in the middle, and you're not asked to do those things because they have a perimeter player that's tasked with doing those things, and they wouldn't even so much as try to see if you had that in your locker over here. You go in the post, and you do big man things, and it's no surprise that people like Giannis and Luka and Jokic, the European influence is actually permeated, and I sincerely hope it changes basketball in this country because they've been doing this for a while now. The highly skilled big men has been a thing for over 20 years, and yet America is still lacking in producing these types of talents.
The reason that Jay Billis said to me the things that he said to me many years ago where he was upset is because I was asking him the difference in the viewpoints of the American players, how we perceived Player of the Year Michael Beasley versus how we looked at Player of the Year Tyler Hansborough.
Psycho T.
Jay Billis didn't want to answer the question about the differences between because I was talking about white black when it came to what perceptions were, and Beasley has a very different game than Tyler Hansborough, but both of them were players of the year, the best player in college basketball. He got upset. He said, be offended then when I say you can't say to me some version of no offense, but that's stupid. When I asked him about the differences, and when I said you can't say no offense, his response was then be offended. It's stupid. But what Stan Van Gundy told us back then was what you just said, which is in the American pipeline, the guy who is that size gets put in the post, and that's all he is for the rest of his life. He never grows into what Joel Embiid is or what is necessitated when the money goes out to the three-point line and the entire sport goes out to the three-point line, and that's where the contracts are.
But don't you think that's changing now? Like, don't you think that's changing with big men?
Even when you think of those highly skilled big men that have played for the U.S., Tim Duncan, U.S. Virgin Islands. Hakeem Olajuwon played for a dream team, not born in this country. Embiid developed his game here in the States, not from here. It's not something from the AAU level through high school, through college, through the pros that we've actually really seen. We've seen players in NBA history like Garnett, Duncan, guys that if maybe they played in this time, they could hang around and they could be that three-point threat. I don't think Duncan could handle certainly not the way that Jokic has. Hell, I don't know if anyone can for a player that size. But it's just something that is, for the moment, distinctly European.
And now with the advent of social media and with people being able to watch coaching in social media, there was an archaic way of them being, okay, you're going to sit in a 2-3 Boeheim style, right? You're 7'4", you're going to sit in the in a 2-3, you're going to have your back to the basket. Now with AAU, the evolution of social media, you can watch people and train yourself essentially from a young kid. You're practicing handling, you're practicing shooting, and it's going to change the game.
Mike, I'm just saying, an American-born basketball big man coming up now, don't you think you should say, no, coach, don't throw me in the paint. I want to play outside. I want to play in the perimeter. Eventually, we're going to see that.
But now the coaches know that, right?
Yeah.
Now the coaches can see a big and be like, okay, let's play real basketball.
We should have already seen that player that was influenced by Dirk. Right. Like
it hasn't happened. Is it DeAndre Ayton? Imagine him shooting threes.
Right.
Like it hasn't happened
It just
in
hasn't
America.
happened yet. Think about the highly touted prospect that's entering the league. Not American. And he can do all these incredible things out on the perimeter, and he can handle. For whatever reason, we just haven't gotten there yet. And it's been like a generation has come and gone. It doesn't take that long from a prospect that's in AAU to work his way through college. We're talking about a 6-year cycle. And none of these highly touted prospects that were big men have ever developed this skill for whatever reason in this country.
But let's examine that for a second, because when you say for whatever reason, it's not for whatever reason. It's DeAndre Ayton gets put in the post. Like that's DeAndre Ayton's job is not to become.
He's from the Bahamas.
He's not even from America.
Yeah,
he's Bahamian.
Okay,
no, it's just
me.
like no one.
Who's the American? Who's the tall guy who's come through our pipeline?
Brooke Lopez.
And he's added that late in this game, and he's Cuban American. Hey, he's Cuban American.
Sorry.
Who is the American?
David Lee.
I think what changes.
David Lee doesn't get to be it.
But think about it. Who are we
Where it
talking about?
changes
Nick
is
Collison?
we saw with
Stop it.
We saw with Steph Curry succeeding at a high level, and even a little bit with LeBron, where if you were this big-bodied, muscular guy, they try to put you on the perimeter. Now everyone. It doesn't matter how tall you are. If I'm Trae Young, I can actually make it to the league because I just go further away from the defense. Right. Hopefully with Jokic, who seems to be on the precipice of at least dominating that conference for the next few years, more big men will want to play like that. It's not sexy, though. Like Stugotz over here said, it's just not a fun way to watch somebody play. And growing up here in the United States,
not even for him.
No, it's not. It's not the
Bored
style
by himself.
It's not the style that American basketball players ever want to play.
Is it Karl Anthony Towns? Is that the closest?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
pretty
probably.
Good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
But he doesn't do most of his damage on the inside. He wants to be out on the perimeter, and the playmaking aspect is no. I don't want to be the person making the assist. I want to be the person chucking it up. It's a beautiful style of play. It's a point guard at the 5, and no one wants to do it in this country, and I think we're worse for it, and maybe the tide will turn the more success Jokic has, the more marquee games that he has, because like you, I've only seen him for 5 games, and I'm just my jaw dropped.
Kevin Love, to a certain aspect, like he was a guy that would draw the defense out
with no athleticism, but Jokic doesn't have much.
Right.
Jamal Crawford said something. You guys saw this, and Eric Spoelstra dismissed it as asinine. But Jamal Crawford says Jokic has such a mastery over what he's doing that he's not even playing against the Heat players. He's playing against Spo. I understood what he was saying, which is he's just grabbing the ball in the center of the paint, and he knows everything that Spo is going to throw at him. Whatever's going to be thrown, nothing will surprise him. He will make the smart play. How is it possible that whether it's Wembanyama, whether it's Giannis, there are no people in our country which claims to have invented basketball. Is this the result of globalization that other countries are better at the evolution of this with the giant guy? Because if all the money's going to go to the three-point line and the perimeter, of course, what is going to happen in the evolution of a sport is the bigger guys are going to also get good at doing the things that the smaller guys are. Basketball's always been a big guy sport, so if you give the ball to Jokic in the middle of the paint, he's going to do things with the ball at 7 feet that Spo doesn't have any answers for.
Meanwhile, Spo probably has the best American example for it, and it's an undersized big, but a big nonetheless, and his father was born in Nigeria. He's American. Bam is probably that next evolution in terms of guys that can initiate offense, handle, create their own shot at the 5. Bam is, I think, the best American that I got. And I know Amin had to run. I would have loved to have had this conversation with him because much of the Phoenix Suns front office was about finding positionless guys, having guys like Boris Diaw play these quote-unquote big positions, but have these small men games, and they would scout South America, and they would scout Europe. And I really wish that we would do more of that here in the United States because it's a really exciting, well-balanced way to play. It's just not sexy for kids.
Are you guys saying the 6'6" to 6'8" wingman is done? Like that no longer is going to dominate the NBA?
I'm saying that's where we're putting the centers. The 6'10" guy wants to be the wing guy. The 6'10" guy doesn't want to be Jokic, who can be on the wing, but also can break his zone from the middle, can work inside out, and he's unstoppable from the field. Like, he's just an unprecedented player. The peak of Jokic, and I say facetiously, but not really. I haven't watched him all that much. This was undeniably, at that position, unguardable. You have Bam, who is, for his position, arguably top 3 in the game. A person that is uniquely qualified with physical attributes and lateral side-to-side movement to try to bother this player. And we saw a player from the center position lead his team in points, rebounds, and assists.
Not his team. The playoffs.
The postseason.
The playoffs. It's never been done before.
How did Joel Embiid win the MVP?
No, Mark Jackson did make me laugh. Mark, I don't know if you heard his comment at the end. He's like, "Well, I finally got my MVP vote right."
Yes, that's he was relieved. But to your point, Mike, the difference. I mean, this is an oversimplification, obviously, but the difference between the Heat and Denver, your starting point can be that Bam is all those things defensively, but he's not someone who can shoot threes. And you didn't
he's
even
not big enough, too.
But you didn't even trust him in the mid-range.
No.
Totally, so much so that Denver allowed him to take that shot. And Denver's got a guy who is bigger, weighs more, and can do all the things that you would like Bam to be able to do.
You plop Bam in any other timeline, and our mouth is left agape. Yeah. But by direct comparison, he looked bad.